Good morning. This is Rob from Big Ol' Pack of Comics. We are here at GalaxyCon in Columbus, and I am sitting here with none other than John Tyler Christopher. If you've seen any of the Negative Space Marvel covers at your local comic shop, this is the man responsible for it. One of the things we have here is John Tyler Christopher special exclusive Daredevil Black Armor #1 cover. The only place you can get this is GalaxyCon Columbus at the One Stop Comic Shop table, apparently, since I think the merch tent is out.
Yeah, well, and I believe also if you want to get a copy of it, you can go to onestopcomicshop.com. You can get copies from Dan directly. So
Fantastic. So I have a kind of tough question.
I've been excited about this all night.
Right.
You mentioned you were going to grill me on this.
So there is this has been stewing with me for a while.
All right.
So the preface is question. I don't know. Are you familiar with like Will Ferrell? You've seen Talladega Nights?
Yes.
So God needs the devil. The Beatles needed the Rolling Stones. Even Diane Sawyer needed Katie Couric.
Okay.
John Tyler Christopher, when it comes to the Negative Space cover zone, who is your Katie Couric? And why is it David?
Oh, stop. No. David is awesome. I love David. And he doesn't do Negative Space. He does the color blue, right? And
He's got like he does Negative Space, but with lines.
but then it's not Negative Space. Like that's the point, right? Like the intention of a Negative Space. So it's predicated on. I got the idea for Negative Space in high school from an artist named Coles Phillips, who was an illustrator in like 1890. He would do these beautiful women in dresses, and it was like, but he'd like do like blocks behind them of a different color, and then the Negative Space would bleed into the frame. He's kind of the godfather. With my Negative Space, it started in high school. I just did it because I thought it looked cool. But as before I even broke into comics, I started doing these prints, and I used them as almost a exercise for me initially. I overread. Comic book art it's a brilliant art form because due to the pressures of deadlines, a lot of artists will like solve problems by like spotting blacks. Like you'll see a lot of shadows sometimes because they're like, I'm struggling with this area, this certain anatomy or this perspective, so they kind of hide things in shadows or solve blacks. My brain doesn't work that way, so I tend to over-render areas that I struggle with, challenges that I'm facing. Negative Space, almost in the opposite of that, forced me to work out my problems in the prelim phase as a thumbnail and as a sketch instead of in final art where I could like try to over-render. So I would try to solve problem areas or how to tell the story of the character through the pose, and that's what the Negative Space is, right? So it's like, okay, I did this vision Negative Space I recently did.
Adventures #1.
Yes.
This year.
The first cover we did, when they pitched me the idea, I was going based off of, I think it was David Acuna designed that version of the Vision, and I was predicating on that. So I had a whole pose designed around that Negative Space idea.
Okay.
When they sent me his new costume, and the fact that his arms were now all green, because the old costume had like a light green and a dark green. The new green and the color of his cape meant that pose wouldn't work anymore because his hands would be hidden in the Negative Space. So I had to rework it, hence why his cape is coming off in two like 45-degree angles, because it allows me to articulate where the hands would be in the arms and offer that pose. David Nakayama, he solves his problems with the line work and creates the form based on the shape of the body, and then gives like subtle details in the line, in the color. Like, so it's not a Negative Space in the sense that it's not trying to communicate the same mindset as what I'm trying to convey. Okay. And there's a lot of other artists that do hints of Negative Space. There's I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, and I hate that I'm forgetting it, but he did a Superman cover with all the different super family, and he had elements of Negative Space in it. But again, like he didn't. I'm making myself work within the Negative Space foundation. Most of these other artists that incorporate Negative Space are utilizing it to enhance the work and not. I'm basically building myself a cage or a box that I have to work in.
Okay.
They're not doing that. So they're creating something wholly different, which is beautiful and awesome in and of itself. Like,
Morning, sir.
I love the idea of putting constraints on myself. And I don't own anything. I don't own the action figure covers that I do. I don't own, and I don't mean that just like in like a legal sense. I just mean that artistically. Like, art should be shared, and if I can help inspire somebody to create new and beautiful and amazing things, I want that. When you talk about, like, if you're going from with your analogy, like, kind of who's your rival? Like, who are you looking at, and like
Who are you competing against? Who drives you to do better?
the person recently, and it's so cool, and I'm just going to shoot straight with it. Like,
All right,
there's no bullshit. That's why, like, if I'm telling you, like, with David's stuff, because I get that a lot. I love him. I love his work. I tell him at shows every time I see him, keep kicking ass, do your thing, man. Currently, the person that's inspiring me is Peach Momoki.
Okay, the watercolors.
And the reason for that is I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I love that. I love when art should be something that is driving forward. I love going into Artist Alley now. I remember when I was a kid, and I apologize if this is going long.
No,
but, like,
this is great. This is fine.
I remember when I started out in Artist Alley, and I was in that, like, early 2000s, early 2010 era of, like, oh man, like, we're doing painting, but we're also like inking it, and we're like we were experimenting, kind of pushing the boundaries at that time of what comic book art could be. We were incorporating painting with comics. Kind of like we took what Greg Horn started, and then we were incorporating like more traditional classic comic book art. And I remember hearing, like, going out to dinner with, like, the old guard, and like they would kind of bitch and moan and complain about, like, oh, you guys, you're solving your problems. You're not going that, like, high contrast. You're kind of cheating, or you're whatever the excuses were. And I love going to Artist Alley now and looking at all of these young whippersnappers and saying, damn, dude, like, I don't understand what you're doing, or it's not that I don't like it, it's that I don't get it.
Yeah.
I want to learn why I get it. I want to, as a businessman, as a professional artist, my job is to sell a product, right? Like, the fact that I don't get it, but so many of the fans do, that's a challenge for me, and I accept that. Like, I welcome that opportunity. Like, and the fact that Peach has done what she's done, I can't do that now.
Yeah.
Oh, in 5 years, half the comic book industry is going to be Peach Momoki. It's going to happen.
That makes sense.
And that's cool. But I'm hoping that Peach is on a whole other level when she gets to that. Like, yeah, she's like, everyone's like, it's the negative space thing for me is, again, my first negative space print that I was selling at cons was in like 2007. I'm loving what people are doing in negative space, but like, the honest truth is, I do my negative space because I sell my negative space.
Yeah.
And I want to make money, and I love doing it. Like, I'm not knocking it. But mentally and artistically, I'm like, that's so 2007. I'm looking forward to the next thing. I'm going to ride the wave as long as I can, because again, I love it, and I love that people love it, and I want to do it. But I'm already planting seeds of the next evolution of where I want to be as an artist and as a professional. So, no hate on any other artist, man.
I was just
No,
a joke.
and I appreciate it. I totally appreciate that. But it's like, we are in this together, man. The comic book industry is too small for infighting and for bickering and for bitching and complaining. The fans matter. The artists matter. The publishers matter. We all matter, and we're all in it together. And the more we can work together and try and make better stuff and cool stuff, we can just keep this thing going, man. It's all nothing but love.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Once again, we're at GalaxyCon Columbus, hanging out. Come by the one-stop shop table. Buy a Daredevil.
Let your coffee cool down. Don't burn your tongue.
Sorry about that. Thank you.